Hey, what's up guys? This is 3D Bonfire. My name is Marcus and welcome to my new training on seed bombs. So maybe I just played once with sound. Intense. So this is really cool and I would like to show you how to do that. So let's watch it a couple of times. We will talk about different topics. So I think important and interesting will be how to make with X particles, the ExplosiaFX tool, how to make cool explosions. So this is a small explosion and we will talk about the setup here. Also, to make a seed bomb and not just a little bomb or explosion, we need some growth pattern, some growing animation, and how this is set up. This is the next topic. So you can see there is a little offset. So first there is earth growing little plants and bigger plants, and then they are shrinking. So yeah, we will study this technique too. Next part is about surface deformation. So it's subtle, but it adds another 10% of intensity to the scene, just to round it up. So you can see there's an impulse going like a shockwave through your plane. And how I would set that up is also a topic of this course. What we just talk about now for a minute, but will not be so important, is to make the scene come together and make something cool. You need to add some different things. For example, these wooden bars, they also add to the physicality or the believability of the scene. So when this shockwave is coming through, they move a little bit. And yeah, you should also think about minor details like that, just to put life into your scene. Also, to make the explosion even more intense, I just animated the light so you can see darkness, then the light, the scenery comes in. So you can time different, you can sync different stuff of your scene to the overall movement to give it more of an intense look. Yes, all right. And maybe one more time with sound. So the guys from Studios in Graz, they helped me with that. And I think this will add another, it's always like 50% is sound and 50% is animation. So if you want to have something cool, sound is essential, right? So this is really cool. And yeah, I guess let's start with the explosion and see you in the next part. Alright, just to get you a little bit more excited about these explosions. Here are a couple of more tests. So this time without the seed technique, without the growing plants, but also this is quite a lovely explosion. I will show you in the next part, so in a couple of minutes, how we do it. And also here is like a nice shockwave here. It's more stylized and artistic, but you can make this more believable quite easy. But just look how, I just love this pattern. I mean, in a still frame, this looks even more awesome. So, wow. I mean, when you time it right, do it a little bit better than I did, you can make something really awesome here. And I mean, already this is quite beautiful. So, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't come to a halt here and shrink down. This is a little bit bad, but it should move more out and then gradually shrink in. But it's nevertheless, it's beautiful. Also in the night scenery, this is giving you a nice hint of motion on the floor, almost like a smoke shock wave here. And yeah, this explosion definitely looks good also in the night scenery. And here again, this is something really stupid, like some earthquake machines. They pumping here, and this is just their thing. They just like to do that. And yeah, so this is also a topic, these shockwaves. But for now, finally, oh, one more example. I'm sorry, didn't expect that. Okay, so yeah, okay, this is without the explosion, just to get the topic right. Here the seed bombs, so growing earth, plants here. I mean, this is quite hilarious how they rotate. I mean, this is just a little bit funny. You don't have to do it in this crazy way, but without rotation. But yeah, so these are our topics. But now finally, let's make some animations. Explosions. Okay, sorry I lied to you. One more video, just one more time with sound, to give credits to Riccardo Campanale. He helped me with the sound design on this one. So yeah, thanks Riccardo. Alright guys, let's talk about small and simple explosions. I mean, also big explosions maybe, but in this case we keep it small. So I want to show you this simple setup here. This is already pre-made, so you can see this is how it's looking. I like that. This is quite beautiful. Let's just go to another frame. So you see this is a quite beautiful animation. And we will talk about the settings here, but just to get it really simple and clear for you, we just start a new scene here and start from the ground up. So how are we going to do it? I think we use an emitter and set this one to a sphere, okay? Make a small sphere here. From here we will emit particles, and these particles will be the driver for our simulation, alright? So first and foremost, we should make the pattern, how these particles are moving, interesting, because this will be the whole movement of our simulation, right? Okay. And we don't want to emit particles continuously, but we want to emit them as a shot. So let's see. Something like this. You could already use this as a source for your animation, but it would be rather boring because it's this is not how a simulation, how a physical animation simulation would behave, right? So you need some natural turbulence and stuff like that. So why don't we do that? First, I would say they shouldn't live forever. So something like this, then they can fade away. Yeah, this is cool. Maybe some variation in the speed. Already better. And now I would say we use something like let's see, like the turbulence. Let's see. Not quite interesting. So we change turbulence, and for me, sometimes curl does work quite well. Set it to curl. This is way too strong. Change this parameter. Maybe to 5. Let's put maybe more strength. Yeah, okay. So more and more this will be an interesting driver for our simulation. Maybe change the scale. Wow. I guess we are already there. So this could be a good point for our simulation. Yeah, all right. Maybe we emit a couple of particles more. Even better. Yes, this is cool. Maybe the strength is a little bit too high. No, let's put it even bigger. More scaling. Yeah, so I think all of them will work. This is quite cool. So yeah, this could be driver for animation. Next, we grab ExplosiaFX container. Make sure it's big enough for our simulation here. Put it here, there. Maybe make it even bigger. But don't make it too big, because this will be place that will be calculated, and don't waste too much capacities here. So this is cool. And the solver, for now, put it to 5. this is already quite dense and has a big resolution, so maybe we can also go to 8 for now. And yeah, so this is basically like a 3D pixel voxels, and this is defining how detailed your simulation will be. So for now 8 is okay, and let's see. As expected, nothing is happening. So I guess the particles in the extended data, physical data, they should have some values in fuel. So they have some parameters here that will be physical data for ExplosiaFX. Still nothing is happening. This is really sad, but maybe we just should put an FX source onto it. I think this will help. All right, so you see, this is a start. This is rather ugly, but this could be interesting soon. So in the emitter, in the emission, let's say the radius per particle 3. I would say this to 6. This is the radius where it's calculating data, okay? So with 6, I guess we have more. Let's see what happens with 20. Yeah, so you see more space will be calculated around it, so you have more data here. Because with 5 you can see 5 is also working. This could be quite nice. Let's go to the display, in the ExplosiaFX, and put more slices here, so you can already see it better. Wow, I think this would be a really super cool explosion. Yeah, I'm quite convinced with this one. Wow, yeah. And all of these beautiful lines here and there, you will get with your turbulence, right? So let's see it here again. Yes, this is defining your shape. And Explosia is adding all of their beautiful curls and physical data to it, and you get something amazing. Yes. All right, so this is the simple theory behind it. What can I say more? I think now this is good for now. So this is how you would create your explosion. And next we just talk about this pre-made scene once more to get the details right. All right, let's repeat a bit the knowledge we gained just right now and intensify it. So maybe I just go back here to just the particle simulation. So this is working just like in the previous example we made. We have an emitter. It's emitting from a small sphere, pumping out 6,000 particles with a certain speed. And we have a turbulence modifier with a curl noise and also a speed modifier. And I think how I set the speed modifier up is particles have their speed and then they come to a full halt before they disappear. So they have some speed change, right? They are pumped out with pressure with a certain speed, but then they slowly come to a halt before they disappear. And I guess this is what I did with the speed modifier here. Yeah, so let's see. This one is set to a speed maximum of 200, but this is depending on your scene scale and how fast actually your particles already move. So in my case, 200 worked. I'm right now not pretty sure about if I set this up correctly, but somehow it worked, okay? When you go to the mapping and change the particle speed maximum over your 90 frames, this is happening here, you change it over the age, and at 40% of 90, I put this to 0. And I think this should be somewhere around here. I think this should help me to make them come to a full halt. So, yeah. Right now I'm not so sure if this is logical, but somehow it worked. guess there are quite better ways to do it, but yeah, when it's working, then it's cool. All right, so emitter with 2 modifiers. We have an Explosia source tag on it, which helps us that the ExplosiaFX container can interpret it. Also, you have to put into your extended data some value here for fuel, for example. So in our ExplosiaFX, now when my computer will react again, give me a second. All right, my system is back on track. Right, so ExplosiaFX container is reading our emitter. This is looking quite cool. And we have a voxel size of 2. Remember, this is our volume resolution. Read it like a 3D pixel, and this is defining our quality. 2 is already quite good detail, but you can go less, of course. Also in the simulation, what is interesting would be the sim scale and the sim speed. And this is changing your simulation look rather intensely. So I think this is how it works. When you go with your sim scale lower from 100 back to 50, you put more detail in your curls. Okay, so the system reads it like this is a bigger explosion. Like this is this is like 10 meters, for example. When you are at 100, then it's maybe like 5 meters. So the lower you go, the bigger your explosion will look. I think that should be the case. So when I go to, for example, like 600 here, then you have a bigger curls and it will look like a smaller simulation, a smaller explosion. Yes. And in conjunction with it, you should change the sim speed. All right, so smaller explosions tend to move slower, I guess. So, but you could also put this to 300 and achieve a certain look. Okay, so this is just me playing, and I have to dig deeper into these values, and in the next tutorial I did some tests with it to change it, so this will explain it better than me now. But yeah, these are important settings. All right, but not going too deep into the details here. We have our explosion until here. Okay, so this is quite cool. Next step would be to cache it. So you put an XP cache into your scene, set the FX format here to OpenVDB, because this format will be our physical data we can put into a Octane VDB volume container. And yeah, you just select the output path here, let it cache, and then into your VDB volume, you will put the output folder. So you will put it here, set it to 1 and 90 because we cached 90 frames, and digits should always be 6, I guess. So this is just how it works. And when we do that, here is already our explosion, and this is looking super cool. All right. Maybe something I can mention here in the medium, in the volume medium. So you put a volume medium here. For example, these parameters, they will help you to define how the VDB volume will interpret your physical data and display them. All right, so when I put the density to 100, you get less density here. Let's intensify this. So this is also an interesting look, but when you want to have it more massive, you just put bigger numbers here. And the volume step length, let me think about how this is working. So I guess the more you put it to left, the more of your calculated information will be shown in your simulation. So the more precise. So I guess this is the more precise look, but when you go more to the right, I think it will calculate faster, but you lose all the details. So yeah, if you want to really have the details which you calculated in your render, you should go pretty low. In my case, this is a good number. Absorption and scattering. I already talked quickly about it in my last tutorial about the sandstorm, but to make it simple, absorption is just how light is penetrating your volume. So you see this is make it brighter. You could also make it blue. Will look ugly. Let's just leave it with black, and I just like this look. The scattering, you can also put blue into here, and this will also give you some tinted effect. So you can go crazy with these values, but to keep it simple, I would just leave it like that. And it looks more realistic, of course. In the emission, texture emission, here, this is an important parameter to say how vibrant, how strong your illumination will be from these parts. So I just keep this at 0.6 because I don't want to have something blown out like that. And also in the emission volume gradient, you can put a gradient in there, and yeah, this will give your explosion colors. So I think as a beginner lesson here, this is already quite enough. So yeah, this is a nice explosion, and I think we should move on to the next lesson. See you. Alright, so let's just quickly talk about the results. I rendered out the file I showed you, and yeah, the result is a nice, small and gentle animation here. Beautiful explosion. I did another version, so in that case I changed a couple of settings and you get a whole different look. So this is more aggressive, more pumping, more little curves, more detail. So in direct comparison, you see this is one explosion and then slowly fading away, while this is, yeah, rather erratic and aggressive. All right, so what I want to show you here are different settings, okay? So I make a screenshot of all my settings which seemed relevant. You can study them. I hope the resolution of the YouTube video holds up. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to talk about everything here, but so you see here for the green explosion, I just highlighted a couple of them. Actually, just parameters which I changed. So here, these are parameters, and next one. So obviously change the color interpretation here to get the green look, right? And in the source tag, I also changed the pressure and the velocity. I put both of them up to 700, while here it was at 50 and 300. So I think the pressure is obviously this, yeah, it's coming out with pressure, so there is a lot more force behind it. And the velocity parameter, how it really translates into the simulation, I have to study again, but just for now, so you see these settings could translate, I think, into another movement there. Also in the volume medium, so this is the look of the explosion, I changed the density, let's see, from 60. So let me show you. Okay, this is already the green one. So yeah, the smoke here was more faint, not so dense. So this is more gray. And when I go here, it's 200. So you can't really see through this, okay? So this is really massive. And the volume step length I put to 0.02, and it was already on 0.02. So forget about this one. This is the same, but I changed the density. Also in the absorption, I changed this one to a almost white grayish tone, which will give you a different tint on the smoke here. So this is whitish, if this is an English word at all. And this is more tending towards black, right? Okay, cool. And I think the most important setting should be the sim scale. which is now on 50 and it was on 100. And basically this means the simulation looks smaller and more, not smaller actually, because there are more details in it right now. It gives you the impression that it is a bigger explosion. This is really hard for me to put into words, but obviously putting it to 50, making the sim scale smaller, will resemble more in a explosion that maybe looks like this is 10 meters big, and this is, where is it? And this is just 5 meters big or something like that. So yeah, this is changing the scale of your simulation. So yeah, you see, by changing a couple of parameters, you get something completely different. Okay guys, I think enough for today. We achieved milestone 1. We got a beautiful little explosion here. Next, in part 2, we will discuss about this growing animation here, how to make it like an impact and growing plants from one point and shrinking them down, combining it with a nice shockwave going through the floor. So this will bring everything to the next level, but we're up for a really good start. So maybe let's watch the video once again from the start. Explosion and a beautiful plant pattern here. Alright, so see ya.